Vault 7. This was literally the scandal that brought a whole new meaning to digital espionage. It all started in March of 2017 when WikiLeaks dropped a bombshell by releasing a massive trove of documents from the CIA, America's premier spy agency. This wasn't your average leak. This was like finding out your grandma's knitting club was actually an elite hacker group. Vault 7 was essentially the CIA's bag of cyber tricks, their digital Swiss Army knife, if you will. It revealed a vast array of hacking tools and techniques used by the agency to infiltrate smartphones, computers, and even smart TVs. One of the coolest, or scariest, tools was called Weeping Angel. It could literally turn a Samsung Smart TV into a bug that recorded conversations even when it seemed turned off. Imagine you're binge-watching your favorite show and your TV is binge-listening to you, or you're having some freaky Netflix and chill time with your significant other and someone is watching you through the TV. Another part of Vault 7 showed how the CIA could bypass the encryption on popular messaging apps like WhatsApp and Snapchat. The leak didn't just show what the CIA could do, it basically showed all the vulnerabilities in everyday technology. It was a wake-up call that even your smart fridge could be smarter than you think, and not in a good way. Watergate scandal. It all started on June 17, 1972, when President Richard Nixon was running for re-election. Well, apparently someone in his camp thought it would be a great idea to bug the Democratic National Committee headquarters because nothing says democracy quite like illegal surveillance. So they send in 5 guys to break into the headquarters at the Watergate complex in Washington, D.C., with the mission to plant wiretaps and steal documents. It was basically a political equivalent of trying to read your opponent's diary in secret. You know, like trying to sneak a peek at someone's text messages when they leave their phone unattended, but way more illegal. Well, these guys were not so smart because they were caught red-handed by a security guard who noticed a tape on the door latch. Now this is where things get interesting. The White House and Nixon's government starts denying any involvement in the break-in. But as the investigation unfolded, it became clear that this rabbit hole went deeper than Alice's in Wonderland. Turns out, Nixon's administration was involved in a whole buffet of illegal activities. Hush money payments, destruction of evidence, and more cover-ups than a teenager with acne. A key turning point was the revelation that Nixon had a habit of secretly recording all his conversations and meetings in the Oval Office. Pro tip, if you're planning illegal activities, maybe don't create your own evidence vault. The tapes gotten from Nixon literally contained all the evidence of his involvement in that cover-up. At this point, Nixon was facing almost certain impeachment, so he decided to resign instead, but was later pardoned by the next president. WikiLeaks. This was practically the digital equivalent of airing everyone's dirty laundry on a global clothesline. The year is 2006, and Julian Assange, an Australian with a hacker background and a taste for controversy, launches WikiLeaks. Think of it as the Pandora's box of government and corporate secrets. Assange's mission was basically to make whistleblowing as easy as online shopping. But instead of buying shoes, you're uploading and revealing government misconduct. One of the major leaks was a video showing a US military helicopter attack in Baghdad known as collateral murder. It showed that the military killed several civilians, including 2 Reuters journalists. It was like a Call of Duty, but with real-life consequences because the video sparked a lot of outrage and debate over the ethics of war. Then, in 2010, WikiLeaks revealed over 75,000 documents detailing the war in Afghanistan, and suddenly everyone was an armchair diplomat discussing foreign policy like they were debating the latest reality TV show. Governments worldwide were not amused, and they treated Assange like he was distributing their embarrassing high school yearbook photos. The US government's reaction was basically, delete that footage, on a global scale. Meanwhile, Assange became an international man of mystery, hopping from country to country. He eventually sought refuge in the Ecuadorian embassy in London, where he stayed for 7 years and continued with his mission. However, Ecuador withdrew his asylum in 2019, and the UK government arrested him. The Pentagon Papers. To paint a little background picture, after the Vietnam War, the US created a top-secret Department of Defense called the Pentagon Papers to study the history of their political and military involvement from 1945 to 1967. So apparently, the then-commissioned Secretary of Defense, Robert McNamara, in the report, revealed that the government had systematically lied to both the public and Congress about their involvement in the Vietnam War. They had secretly enlarged the scope of actions and carried out coastal raids on North Vietnam and Marine Corps attacks. And this did not sit well with Daniel Ellsberg, who had worked on the study. The guy was pissed and decided to take the role of Robin Hood by leaking the information to the public because he believed they had every right to know the alleged truth. It's like watching a horror movie and deciding that everyone needs to see who the true monster in the closet is. So in 1969, Ellsberg and his colleague Anthony Russo started secretly photocopying the entire 7,000 pages of the Pentagon Papers, which took months and involved very high risks. He first approached the members of Congress to help him release the documents, but they refused, so he turned to the press. And you guessed it, the New York Times took the bait. The press began publishing a series of articles based on the documents, and, well, it's safe to say the information caused a national uproar. The headline might as well have read, "Government Caught with Their Pants Down." The president was not amused and went full eagle on everybody involved. He tried to slap an injunction on the Times to halt the publication, but the Washington Post picked up on the slack and started publishing the documents too. It was basically like a journalist whack-a-mole with more newspapers popping up as he tried to shut them down. Ellsberg was charged with conspiracy, espionage, and theft of government properties, but the charges were dismissed after investigators realized they couldn't win in court. The man was practically seen as a hero to the public, and in June 2011, the documents forming the Pentagon Papers were declassified and publicly released. Panama Papers. Imagine you have a secret cookie jar that you hide from everybody, including your nosy neighbors, your cat, and even your grandma who thinks you've given up on sweets. Now, just imagine if someone discovers your secret stash and spills the information to your whole neighborhood. That would be pretty embarrassing, right? Well, that's kind of what happened with the Panama Papers, but on a huge global scale. Basically, in 2016, an anonymous source leaked the news to German newspaper Süddeutsche Zeitung, who then shared it with the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists, ICIJ. The cat was out of the bag, literally, and it was revealed that Mossack Fonseca, a law firm in Panama, was basically the ultimate cookie jar manufacturer for the rich and famous, and it helped its clients hide money and assets in offshore accounts, far from the prying eyes of tax collectors and regulators. Suddenly, over 11.5 million documents were leaked to the press, and journalists worldwide had a field day with all the information. It was like someone opened Pandora's box, but instead of evil spirits, out flew bank statements and corporate records. Names of famous people, politicians, business moguls, and some really shady characters were mentioned. Even Iceland's prime minister was on the list and had to resign because of all the allegations. Countries started investigating, heads rolled, figuratively speaking, and the world realized just how creative people can get with their money when they really don't want to share it. It was like finding out your favorite magician has been cheating the whole time, but instead of pulling rabbits out of hats, they were pulling cash out of thin air. DNC email leak. This leak happened during the height of the US 2016 presidential campaign and basically turned the whole affair into a real-life soap opera. And again, it all happened because of WikiLeaks, the internet's favorite whistleblower, or troublemaker, depending on who you ask. The leak dropped nearly 20,000 emails from DNC officials and basically revealed behind-the-scenes communications and strategies of the Democratic Party. The emails revealed that the DNC wasn't exactly feeling the burn, and that they actually wanted Hillary Clinton to win the primaries. Imagine the damage that would cause, because the DNC was supposed to be the supposedly impartial referee, but was practically caught cheering for one team alone. Supporters of Sanders were outraged, and the leak added fuel to the fire of an already heated primary season. Even the DNC's chair, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, resigned faster than you could say cheese because of how damaging the whole thing was. However, it doesn't end there. The plot thickened when U.S. intelligence agencies pointed the finger at Russian hackers. According to them, these hackers had infiltrated the DNC's computer systems and stolen the emails to disrupt the election and undermine public confidence in the democratic process. Yeah, right. Paradise Papers. This was practically the sequel of the Panama Papers. You could literally say it was tax evasion 2.0 because it happened right after the Panama Papers scandal. Like, the very next year, 2017. First of all, the whole world was still in shock over what had happened the previous year when another bomb was literally dropped on their laps. This time around, it was a Bermuda-based law firm called Appleby, which sounds like a place you might go for a vacation. Well, in a way, it was, though. The vacation was for your money. The rich and powerful were hiding their dough in tropical tax havens like Bermuda, the Cayman Islands, and even the Isle of Man. Those places were literally luxury resorts for money, where cash could just lounge around tax-free. The leak exposed 13.4 million documents showing how politicians, celebrities, and corporations were using these offshore havens to avoid paying taxes. It was like a game of financial twister, with everyone trying to contort themselves in the most tax-efficient position possible. The Paradise Papers showed that even Queen Elizabeth II and companies like Apple and Nike had offshore investments. The leak also implicated close associations of political figures like Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin. It was like a who's who of the rich and famous, all enjoying a tax-free paradise, while the rest of the world was left to pay their fair share. Operation Gladio. This entire craziness basically started because the Western powers were shaking in their boots about the possibility of a Soviet invasion after World War II. To make themselves feel better, they decided to come up with Operation Gladio, a NATO's hush-hush, stay-behind operation that was so secret that it made the recipe for Coca-Cola look like public knowledge. The whole idea was to create secret paramilitary networks across Western Europe, so if the Red Soviet Army rolled in to cause any problems, the secret agents would stay behind enemy lines, conduct guerrilla warfare, and generally make life miserable for the invaders. It was like having an underground superhero squad ready to spring into action if things went south. But, well, things got really murky and fast. Instead of secret networks doing what they were actually sent to do, they decided to become the enemies instead. Apparently, Operation Gladio started getting involved in acts of sabotage and political manipulation. In Italy, Gladio is said to have played a role in the so-called Years of Lead, which was a period of widespread social and political turmoil marked by bombings, assassinations, and kidnappings. They were basically creating fear amongst the people they were sent to protect and then blaming it on the Soviets. It's like they took a page out of the How to Create Chaos 101 handbook. The whole operation eventually became an open book in 1990 when the Prime Minister of Italy, Giulio Andreotti, confirmed the existence of Gladio, but the full extent of their crimes remained sketchy and shrouded in secrecy and denials. The Edward Snowden NSA leaks. Edward Snowden was a tech wizard working as a contractor for the National Security Agency, NSA, and one day, he decided to go from being another random tech guy to starring in his own international spy thriller. And well, let's just say it was really a blockbuster movie. The whole can of worms opened in 2013 when Edward revealed that the NSA was collecting information on pretty much everyone and everything. Imagine your nosiest neighbor peeking through your windows, but in this case, the windows were digital and the NSA was the neighbor. Edward believed that the public had a right to know the scope of data collection conducted by the NSA because they were essentially listening in on every phone call, reading every email and message, and seeing every single picture. Even those selfies you thought were private and embarrassing. Using his clearance, Edward accessed various databases and downloaded tens of thousands of documents. He then reached out to journalists who work at major news media companies and basically just exposed how the NSA was essentially a stalker who knew way too much about everybody. Governments worldwide reacted like they'd been caught with their hands in the cookie jar. Some praised Snowden for his bravery, while others called him a traitor, but the guy didn't even care. To avoid any awkward conversation with the US government about his new career as a whistleblower, Snowden initially fled to Hong Kong but was eventually granted asylum by the Russian government in 2022. However, back in the US, the entire revelation led to a lot of debate about privacy, security, and how many cat videos the government really needs to see. And although the NSA made changes to their surveillance programs, people were still convinced that the snooping didn't stop. But you don't need to worry about all that anymore, because with Surfshark, our sponsor for today's video, your online data and information are more protected than gold bars in a bank vault. Surfshark guarantees that your life on the internet is 100% protected with a highly encrypted VPN, meaning that all your data and information are literally covered with a mask. So, no matter the rank or clearance, anyone who tries to snoop around your business digitally won't be able to see what you're doing or where you're even doing it from. Surfshark also allows you to travel the world with just a tap of your finger. I mean, if you live in Canada, in just 2 clicks you can change your location to Spain and access all the movies on Netflix, for example, that aren't available in your country. Also, don't let websites like Amazon and AliExpress show you prices based on your location or device, because with Surfshark, you can simply turn on your VPN and get amazing deals. There is no risk in trying Surfshark. They offer a 30-day money-back guarantee. To get started on all these amazing details and secure your privacy with Surfshark, enter coupon code EVALUATOR for 4 months extra at surfshark.deals/evaluator.